Was that any point in time where it felt overwhelming, just having to survive? Or, as you said, just your stubbornness, that what I'm going to be, what I'm going to do, didn't even make it an option to think that this was going to be permanent at all?
This might sound proud, but
Go for it.
Failure was never an option. And I also think that that's one of the things it's almost like a double-edged sword.
Okay.
The fear of failure pushes me to work as hard, but at the same time, it could make you burn the candle at both ends. So it was never an option. I would dedicate myself 100% to anything I was doing.
So there was no hustle, no desperation.
I just
Focus.
I just focused and knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
Because even in school, yes, there were times where I got distracted. For example, in secondary school, I got distracted a bit. You get into that period, you get mixed with boys and girls, and there's always that possibility that you're always going to lose focus of where you're going to. And my grades suffered. But I also want you to understand that we're coming from a place where, before we started talking about building tech products and all that, it was your grades that determined how well you were going to do in life.
Yes.
And so to me, that was get good grades, and that was it. And so we got distracted a bit. And when I got distracted, my grades fell a bit. And I was like, okay, before I leave the school, I'm going to plant my seed here and show them that I can really do this. And by the time I was leaving the secondary school, almost every award I packed it. Right? So I think that has always been there. I cannot say exactly where it comes from, but I just knew that this is what I want. How will I get it? I don't know. But as long as I keep it in front of me, I just know that somehow I'll find my way getting it. And maybe that temporary stint in lack and poverty also helped me get I don't want to say the word realistic view of the world, but I think more of a balanced view. A more complete view, because I could see the debts that people could go through when because, okay, the closest people around me, as at that time, were the people you would refer to as agberos. Basically.
Right.
The closest people around me at that point. I grew up with agberos, touts. Basically, these were the people who run after cars, collect money from them, collect levies, and if I'm being honest, nothing stopped me from going that route, right? But I also believe that there's a foundation, and I think that's one of the things that kept me. My mom sent me to deliver pap to one of them. Right. It's a particular day like that, and when I got there, they gave me money to go pick up, I think, cigarettes and weed. And begrudgingly, I went, picked it up, and got it back to them. And I got the empty plate from them and went back to my mom, and she was asking me, so why did you spend so long there? And I told her, I said, could you please not let me go back there? And she was like, why? I said, I don't know, I'm just not comfortable. I didn't want to tell her that I had gone to buy weed,
Yeah.
I just told her I don't want to go back there.
Right.
I think because I was uncomfortable with the environment at that particular point. And I'm so grateful that she didn't argue, because other people with that same scenario would have said, this is what is feeding us as a family, so you have to do it. She just never sent me there again. So whenever they ordered for pap and akara, she would ask them to come and collect it. And I'm a firm believer in nature and nurture. I strongly believe that if I had continued in that circle, I would probably become so friendly with them that there would be no difference between their lifestyle and mine.
And yours. Yeah.
I would probably have dreams, but I'm sure with that kind of environment, I would probably not have the concentration enough to be able to see those dreams to fruition. I mean, sometimes I go back there and I see some of them that I actually grew up with. And it brings me back to that place of humility and just makes me realize that this could have been you. Let's just say in my entire life, I never saw that coming.
Yeah.
There was no book I would write where one of the chapters would be my battle with a brain tumor.
Yeah.
It could be other things, but not a brain tumor. That's why I said things happen when they happen, right?
Yeah.
So
anyway, so you decided that
I decided I was not going to do the surgery, and there was this fear. And my father came, put his hand on my shoulders, and he says, "No, so don't worry, everything is going to be all right." And I remember anger from the depth of my belly. In my head, I was like, "If you don't get out now, Daddy, with all due respect, this is not the time where you talk."
Yes, it's not the time for cliche.
I don't need this at this point. I mean, this is something happening. I had quietly written the passwords to all my banking apps.
Wow.
Somewhere.
You were preparing.
I was preparing.
In case you died.
I was preparing. And then there was also the possibility of never getting my eyesight back.
Yes.
Because, I mean, when I went for the tests, the ophthalmologist that was with told me, said, "I hope you know that you're not getting any better than this. Your eyesight's not getting any better than this. The eyesight lost is eyesight lost." As a doctor, I knew that. Yeah. Medically, he's correct. Because the optic nerve is a very fragile nerve. Any small thing that occurs to it is probably permanent. It's also one of the nerves that never regenerates. You could see, I mean, people have accidents and you can see them trying to do physiotherapy you can't do physiotherapy for the eyes. The eyesight is gone, the eyesight is gone. And so I knew medically he was correct, but somehow it was that stubbornness. Yeah. I was like, no, my eyesight is very important to me and I'm not going to lose it. And I walked out of that place with that conviction, but at a point where the doctor said, "These are the options in front of you," I didn't know what to do again. And so they brought a consent paper for me to sign. And my hands were shaking and I couldn't even sign it. I was like, "I need some time." And he said, "You have only 10 minutes. Or we have to reschedule the surgery." And
you had to make this decision in 10 minutes.
10 minutes. And God bless my younger brother, because he remembered a particular song I used to play was Victoria Orenze's song, "I Get Back, You Know." And he just went to one corner of the room. He's also like me, he doesn't talk. While everybody was talking, he was quiet. He just went to that corner of the room and put on the song again. And while the song was playing, I could feel faith rise up in me. And I was like, "Call the doctor now." And he called the doctor. I was like, let's do this. I'm like, "Okay, you ready? Sign." I was like, "Okay, let my wife sign." I was like, "No, if you can see, sign." And so with what was left of my eyesight, I scribbled down something and that was it. And I brought the wheelchair in and said, "Okay, we're going to wheel you into the surgery room." I said, "No, I'm not going in the wheelchair. I'm going to walk to that surgery room." And they said, it's against our policies. And I said, "I don't care about your policies. I'm going to walk there." And of course, they let me walk there and I was there. And the next thing I remember was me waking up in the ICU and I was violently shaken. I think my body temperature had dropped so much during surgery that while I was waking up, it had not yet come back to what it should normally be. And so I was violently shaken. It was another period of frustration for me because, I mean, my life's work is basically me talking.
Yes, yes.
Do I lose that also?
So even at this point in recovering from the surgery, there was also the possibility that speech could be affected in your recovery.
Because they went in through the left side of the brain.
Right. So you could have lost speech.
There's a possibility. So they went into the left side of the brain. The left side of the brain is where you have the speech area, the broken speech area. And probably was touched in one way or the other. It will recover to come back with time. But then,
but it takes
this, yes, it will take time. And yes, this is me. Other people, yes, probably. Could probably just sign documents and you work with your mind.
Yeah. But
I
this
work
is
with
your
my
work
mind
too.
and my mouth.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to lose that.
How did you navigate having 2 diagnoses for you and your wife within months?
You know, when things become overwhelming, the only choice you have is to turn to something that's bigger than you. We're always looking for things that are bigger than us. I would say prayer helped us a lot. We prayed a lot about it. We spoke a lot about it. For her, when she's ready to share, she will.
Right.
But for me...
But she's okay from that.
Oh, yeah, she is. But for me, I'm actually blessed that she's in my life, to be honest. People go through different levels of relationships. And there's a relationship where you guys are all lovey-dovey and in love with each other. And there's the level where you just know, this is my person. At that point, it's no longer about public display of affection. Like, this is my ride or die. And I think that's where we crossed over to that point. Like, this one, it's 2 of us.
Yes.
Rough it.
Before, it was theory.
It was theory. Now I know that if it ever comes to laying down my life, literally, I would give it for this person. Because I've seen what she's able to do.
Yeah.
So, which is why sacrificial giving, can you love someone in spite of yourself? I say gladly. Because I've seen her do it.
You've seen her do it.
Which is why actually, for everyone who's actually believing in making sure they find some, to me, it's not, leave the physical attributes. Those come in secondary. Find someone who at the very heart of themselves, there are good people. Yeah. People who are kind. Yeah. Because people will default to familiar in difficult times.
People would default to familiar.
They would default to familiar. Time. She had a choice. She could be at home, but she said, okay, you have a shoot. I'll follow you. And our relationship is more like alloy at this point. For you to say one person has to go.
One person higher.
One person has to go.
Yeah. Somebody asks, how can a brain tumor possibly be a blessing? You just answered the question.
Really, yeah.
You don't need, people don't need to have brain tumors to get there.
Yeah.
But how could it have been a blessing? This is what you just shared.